Tell me if this sounds like you. You're pulling focus, you're operating the camera, you're setting up the lights, you're monitoring the audio, you're conducting the interview, you're directing the actors. What I just described is the life of a solo filmmaker. But the question is, how to keep quality and maintain efficiency throughout the entire production. I'm Drew with Resonate Films, and that's what we're gonna get into today. Being a solo filmmaker has its pros and its cons. Obviously, you can keep things light and nimble, the overhead is much lower, but then the quality may suffer a bit. So today we're gonna talk about how to maintain that efficiency and how to maintain the quality throughout the entire production. The first thing I'd like to outline in order to be a really good solo filmmaker is that understand planning is everything. Of course, this would be true for any production, but it only accentuates when you're filming by yourself. So if a client calls you and says, here's where we want to shoot or here's what we want to do, you need to be location scouting, shot listing, looking at Google Earth, researching and doing the best you can at finding every little detail about where you're gonna shoot and what the environment is. Whenever I have a shoot scheduled, I want to mentally get myself in position and ready to go so that I don't just show up and just say, okay, where am I pointing the camera? Who are we filming today? But mentally rehearse the day in your mind, even if it's a small shoot. Visualize where things are gonna be because it will help you solve problems when they do happen. The next thing I would say is keep your gear nimble and efficient. You want something that feels good in your hands, something that you feel like you could carry around anywhere and is just like a workhorse of a machine and a tool that you know how to use. Don't be unfamiliar with your gear, your lenses, your camera, your audio equipment, your lights. Know how to use it and know how to use it efficiently. The next tip I would give for a solo filmmaker is don't overshoot scenes. Now, as filmmakers, we're notorious for trying to be over perfectionists, where we want to smooth out every shot or get a lens flare or have the actor give another performance. And the problem is we just don't have enough time. And what you want to focus on here is not putting too much time into things that don't matter. And it's hard to discern that, but the more you shoot, the better you'll get with that. One practical tip is if you're shooting B-roll clips, is to keep your shots to about 10 seconds in length. Whether you're shooting 24 frames or 60, this will give you a good amount of time just for that B-roll. The next thing I would say is make sure to capture good audio. A lot of times we're focusing on the visual, the tech specs of the camera, the optics of the lens, everything in between, but we forget about the audio. Make sure to have an external microphone. Don't just use the scratch audio from your camera. It's an easy, cheap, and effective way at enhancing your story in the edit. All right, the next tip I would say is be flexible. Things don't go as planned on set. If you're a filmmaker, you know this, true and true. Not everything you plan out in pre-production always goes smoothly. Whether it's the weather, the actors may get sick, the location doesn't go through, camera technical difficulties, whatever it may be, things just don't go as planned, and you have to stay flexible. I think that's the coolest thing about filmmaking, is it's really creative problem solving. One example, I was shooting a music video with my friend Travis Clark, and he wanted to shoot it in the mountains, kind of with a snowy background, and with having this old piano. And so we found this piano on Facebook Marketplace. We loaded it in the back of my truck. We started heading to Pikes Peak National Forest, and the directions took us to the wrong place. We were 45 minutes out of the way. The sun is beginning to set, so we're already behind schedule. We show up, and the park ranger says, "Why do you have a piano in the back of your truck?" We explained to her that we were shooting a music video. We didn't have any permitting, and for some reason, she let us go past. We find this cool spot to film, and then it starts snowing, which we did want snow in the background, but we didn't want snow in the shot. It started snowing a lot, almost to a point where we couldn't film anymore, but we embraced it and we made it a part of the scene. And then about 15 minutes later, we only shot one take of our music video, and a park ranger shows up and says, "You need to get down the mountain now, the park is closing." We knew we had enough time, but she was just having a bad day. Needless to say, there were several obstacles along the way, whether it was visibility, bad directions, or park rangers that kept us from fulfilling the project to its completion. However, we pushed through and we got the project done, and it happens to be one of my favorite music videos that we made in that series. Problem solving and being flexible is the name of the game. If you're not able to get over your hurt feelings or overcome insurmountable challenges, all the while maintaining team unity and camaraderie, then this industry is probably not for you. So stay flexible and stay nimble as a solo filmmaker. The next thing I'd like to say is to invest in gear that will last. Cameras are always shifting in technology. It's good to invest into a good camera. I'm not gonna take that away. However, things that aren't moving so rapidly in the technological space are things like tripods, light stands, maybe even lenses and lights, and then your camera. Another tip I would say is bringing another person on set to help as a PA. Now, you may say this goes against being a solo filmmaker, but I still think this would fall in the same vein because you're a very light production crew. So hiring someone, whatever day rate they have, or even volunteering, having a friend help will make all the difference sometimes, even if they don't technically know what they're doing. Whether it's holding a light bounce or negative fill, or just helping set up your tripod or your light stands, anyone can do those things. For the last two mini docs that we're doing, one at Masa Seed Farm and the other one at Flux Studio, I had someone shooting behind the scenes, but then they also acted as a PA. And I try not to abuse that power. Obviously, I'm gonna do a bulk of the work, but it's nice to have them for moral support, just to get a second look or a second opinion on some things, and in case I needed an extra hand, they were right there to help. The last thing I would say as a solo filmmaker is if you really want to scale, and if you want to make really cool stuff, you need a team. I learned it from one good friend of mine. I asked him how filmmaking is going. This was several years ago, and he said, you know, I'm learning that filmmaking is a team sport. And I think that couldn't have been said any better than knowing that you're a part of a team. You may be the director, you may be the point guard or the center or the power forward, whatever it is, you are a part of the team of this creative collaboration. So if you want to be a really good filmmaker, grow the team. Meanwhile though, don't make the limitation of not having a big crew keep you from making the best videos out there. So that's it for me today, guys. Obviously, we could talk more about being a solo filmmaker and what that means. If you want to know more information about that, please reach out to me. Go ahead, comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.